Good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Baxter, and I have been attending Vineyard Chester Springs since 1999. I am retired, and I volunteer at an organization in Phoenixville called PACS, which is an acronym for Phoenixville Area Community Services. And what their function is they help with the food insecurities in Phoenixville and the surrounding areas, Spring City, Royersford. My job there is to unload trucks that go out into the community. We have 3 vans. They go out into the community and pick up donated food, and then it comes into packs, and I'm in the back in the warehouse, and the trucks come in. I help unload them. Then I send them over to another area, and people sort the food to make sure that it's good quality. No dented, no open packages, things like that. Anyhow, and then our clients can come in. There's no proof of residency needed. There's no limit to how many times they can come in a week, and they can shop. And they have a little grocery cart, and they go around and pick what they want from what we have to offer in the pantry. And of course, it varies at different times. I really enjoy working, even though I'm in the back, and you think it would be insignificant, but I'm helping to get the groceries out there. But it's really cool to see people come out with a cart full of groceries. And every once in a while, a place like Trader Joe's might donate flower bouquets that are starting to wilt, or not even quite starting to wilt. But anyhow, they will donate the flowers, and the people come out with a bouquet of flowers and the groceries. And it's a very good feeling to know that I contributed a little bit to these people having food for the week.
I'm Amanda. I live in the borough of Malvern, and this is the Malvern train station. I come here pretty much every morning to do a stair workout, and God's given me numerous opportunities to share His love. I want to tell you about just a couple of those. A man named John comes to mind who traveled here from somewhere in New England and had left his house 24 hours previous to meeting me. And he was an older gentleman who had a hard time walking. I approached him and asked if there was anything I could do to help him. He said he needed a ride to the Malvern Retreat Center. He had come in for a retreat and had no idea how he was going to get there unless he walked the mile that it was to get there. Then there's a woman named Michelle who slept here at the train station on a bench all night. She was wrapped in a sheet head to toe, holding her body heat in. It was a pretty chilly night. And people waiting for the train were circling around her and trying to figure out if there was a person in that sheet, and if there was the person sleeping or even alive. I saw her feet wiggle under the sheet, so I knew there was a person who was indeed alive. I sat down next to her, introduced myself, and asked her if there was anything I could do to help her. She let me pray for her, and she accepted some cash to help her with her travels. I think of Steve, who I oftentimes pass on my way home, who sits on his porch. He's recovering from a stroke, and I'll chat with him and share God's love. I've been so thankful for the opportunities I have right here in my own community, right in my own daily routine. It doesn't happen every day, every time I come to the train station, but it's happened quite a bit, and I'm so thankful for that.
About a year ago, a few things happened at the same time. I started realizing that I had a new energy or interest in leading a small group discussion about Jesus that I hadn't felt in a long time. Brian was my husband. He was noticing that he had some religious trauma that he needed to deconstruct and deal with and do the work of tearing down old faulty images of God. and take a closer look at who God actually is in the Bible. He needed Christians who would love him and space to ask the troubling questions so that he could heal. And last year, my kids both started at 2 new schools, so I was meeting parents at 2 new schools. And as I was meeting them and getting to know them, I was asking about their religious backgrounds. I was a little bit self-deprecating. I used to be a college minister. I'm just fascinated with people's stories and their relationship with faith. So I'd dive in and be real. So I heard over and over again from parents their stories also of religious trauma or disappointment with church or hurt from Christians. I heard parents who never went back to church after COVID, or their church was too political, and they just couldn't stay. I had one mom who was struggling with something that the Pope said and saying she kind of wanted to walk away, but she wanted her kids still to go to Mass, so she was trying to figure it out. But she said, I would just love to be in one of your groups, not to talk, but just to sit and listen. So I had all of these people around me who were processing religious things and would really like more of Jesus, but church was too big of a stretch. And I felt it, right? These people could love Jesus if they could have a space to look at stories about him. When I was a college minister, we did something called manuscript studies, where we printed out a passage, usually a gospel passage, like we did with Romans. It was just a custom-made type of space for critical thinkers, right? Ask whatever questions about things that bug you, right? About what Jesus is doing, or things that surprise you. And you start to engage first with your intellect, and you bring your curiosity. And then when you ask questions that you hadn't thought to ask, Jesus sneaks up on you and catches you in a different way. And a year ago, I started missing leading those groups. I wanted to lead a group like that. So I set a date right around Thanksgiving, this past Thanksgiving, and I started. And I invited my first ring of people and got some polite interest. Not long before that, Amos had preached on the wedding banquet about inviting, and then you go and you invite more, and you invite people you don't expect, right? And the story came to mind as I was walking to pick up Ginny from school, and I saw a friend who I knew, but we hadn't ever talked about religious things, so I just jumped in out of the blue, my awkward, authentic self, and I said, I'm starting up a new group for people who are interested in Jesus, but maybe not church. Do you have any religious background? Are you interested in something like that? And she leaned in and said, I'm very interested. Send me a text, send me the information. One time, Ginny, my first grader, trapped me into inviting another mom, because right in front of me, she invited her classmate, and then I had to explain to her mom. And I didn't really have a great read on her, didn't know her background, and I didn't want to hurt the growing friendship, but I had to explain. So I said, well, I'm starting a new group, and we're folks who are choosing to look at passages about Jesus, even though we have some backgrounds, some hurt from churches or some religious trauma, and we're kind of a motley crew that is pretty raw about dealing with depression and anxiety, and we just keep pushing through and getting together and being ourselves. And she said, I would fit right in. So I've got these friends who are eager for more of Jesus, and I just think there are so many poor people around us who would be interested in Jesus, but church isn't the entry point. So I'm seeing God at work in creating a space, and he shows up for these new friends. So.